What is seen is not the thing. It is the result of a fire, a body, and a surface arranged in a certain order. The archive holds the surface, not the source. What the source allowed the surface to receive. The cave is open at one end, not wide, narrow enough that the air from outside enters in a slow current at this hour. The cooler night air moving along the floor toward the back of the cave, the warmer interior air rising along the ceiling and leaving by the same opening. The exchange continuous and unhurried. The opening is not where the cave begins. The opening is where the cave allows entry. Inside, the cave widens. The walls turn outward and back. The ceiling rises. The floor descends in a long, shallow slope toward the chamber at the rear. The stone of the walls is limestone, porous in places where water once moved through it, dense in places where the minerals settle differently. The surface uneven in the way natural stone is uneven. The small irregularities holding the angles the stone has held since the cave was formed. The chamber at the rear is large enough to stand in. The floor there is level. The ceiling high enough that the smoke of a fire rises and gathers near the rock before drifting back along the upper air toward the opening. The walls of this chamber curve inward at the top, then meet, not in a clean dome, but in a rough vault, the rock joining itself in the way stone joins itself across the slow movement of geological time. In the chamber, a fire is burning, not large, a working fire built for light, for warmth at the back of the cave, where the outside air no longer reaches. The wood is dry. The flames are steady, rising in the still air of the chamber, the smoke leaving in its slow upward path. The fire has been burning long enough that the embers at the base have formed a bed of orange and red beneath the active flames, the heat radiating outward in all directions from the burning material. The fire is the light source. Everything else in the chamber receives its illumination from the fire. The walls, the floor, the ceiling, the objects between the fire and the walls. The light leaves the fire in all directions at once, not as a beam, as a field, radiating outward from each point of the burning material, traveling in straight lines through the air of the chamber, arriving at every surface that has line of sight to the flames. The walls receive light, the floor receives light, the ceiling receives light. The objects between the fire and the walls receive light on the side that faces the fire, and not on the side that faces away. The side that faces away is in shadow. What leaves the fire is not only light, heat leaves it too, radiating outward in the same directions, traveling through the air at the same instant the light does, but the heat falls off more quickly. The walls of the chamber, only a few paces from the fire, receive the heat at a fraction of what the air directly above the flames receives. The far wall, where the shadows form, holds barely the temperature of the chamber's general air. The heat from the fire does not reach it as image, only the light does. The wall will hold a shape against the brightness around it. The wall will not hold the warmth the body is receiving on the side that faces the flames. A shadow is not an absence in the usual sense. It is a region where the light has been intercepted before arrival. The light that would have reached the wall at that location has reached the object instead. absorbed, scattered, returned in some proportion the object's surface determines, but not continued. The wall behind the object receives only the light that travelled around the object, arriving from angles the object could not block. The region where that light is reduced is what the wall holds as shadow. The shadow on the wall is the wall. It is not a thing placed on the wall. It is the wall's own surface, receiving less light at that location than at the regions around it. The darkness is the wall, illuminated less. The shape of the shadow is determined by the geometry of three things at once: the fire's position, the object's outline, the wall's distance and angle. None of these alone produces the shadow. The shadow is what arrives when the three are arranged in a particular relation. Move the fire, the shadow changes. Move the object, the shadow changes. Move the wall, the shadow changes. The shadow has no existence independent of this arrangement. It is the arrangement made visible on the wall. Breath enters, breath leaves. Between breaths, the air holds its density. The shadow had not lied. It had only arrived from one direction. Between the fire and the wall, there are objects, stones the cave has held since before the fire was built, fallen from the ceiling across the long time the cave has existed, settled into positions on the floor that the floor's small irregularities allowed. Pieces of wood, brought in from outside, stacked near the fire for later use. A bowl set on a stone. A cloak draped across another. The body of someone seated near the fire. The body's edges holding the warmth at the side that faces the flames and giving it back to the air at the side that faces away. Each of these objects is between the fire and some portion of the wall. The light reaching the wall in those portions has passed the objects first. Where the light is blocked, the wall holds the shape of what blocked it. Where the light passes around, the wall holds the lit region the surrounding light produced. The wall, all along its surface, is a record of what is between it and the fire. Not the things themselves, but the shapes the things produced in their interception of the light. The wall receives light at every point on its surface. At some points, the light arrives at full intensity. At other points, the light arrives reduced, because an object stood in the path, because the angle from the fire was steeper, because the wall itself is recessed at that location, and the geometry of the chamber turned the light away. The wall does not distinguish these reasons. It receives what arrives. The arrangement of lit and unlit regions on its surface is the wall's record of the chamber's current condition. It holds the shape the geometry produced. The shape on the wall is not the thing that cast it. The wood near the fire is round and rough and heavy with the weight of dry wood. The shadow it casts on the wall is flat, a region of reduced light whose outline depends on the wood's profile from the fire's angle, on the distance from the fire to the wood, on the distance from the wood to the wall, on the angle of the wall itself. The shadow is two-dimensional. The wood is three-dimensional. The shadow shows the wood's silhouette as seen from one direction. The other directions of the wood, the back, the sides facing away from the fire, the underside, are not present in the shadow. The shadow has no depth. The wood still does. What reaches the wall is what the wood becomes when received from one side only. The wood is more than the shadow. The shadow is what the wall receives, given the wall's position and the fire's position and the geometry of the air between them. The body seated near the fire holds the same relation to its shadow. The body's outline against the firelight is what the wall registers. The body's depth, the body's texture, the body's warmth, the body's interior. These do not travel to the wall. The wall holds the body's silhouette, the curve of the shoulder, the angle of the head, the shape the body makes against the light from the position the body currently occupies. The body holds itself from inside. The wall holds the body from one direction only. These are not the same holding. The body holds the warmth of the fire on the side that faces the flames. The body holds the cooler air of the chamber on the side that faces the wall. The body holds the weight of itself, the position of its joints, the small adjustments it is making to remain seated comfortably on the stone. None of this travels to the wall. What travels is the geometry of the body's outline against the light, and the geometry alone. The wall's record of the body is true. It is true as a record of what the wall, at its location, with the fire at its location, can receive of the body. It is true as a record of the silhouette. It is not the body. It was never the body. It is what the wall receives when the wall is where it is, the fire is where it is, the body is where it is, and the light from the fire arrives at the wall after passing the body. Breath enters, breath leaves. Between breaths, the air holds its density. The wall is not a clean plane. The stone is uneven in the way the cave's own forming left it. Ridges where one layer of limestone settled against another. Small hollows where water once passed, and the rock gave way to it. Regions where the surface curves inward, and other regions where it bends away. The light arrives at all of these. What it produces is not the same on a ridge as on a hollow. The shadow crosses a ridge, and its edge breaks slightly at the line. The shadow falls into a hollow, and its center darkens further than it would on a flat region. The shadow bends across an outward curve and stretches longer than the shadow on the wall nearby. The outline reaching the wall is the same outline. What the wall returns of it is the outline received through the unevenness of itself. The fire moves. The flames are not steady in the absolute sense. They flicker, small variations in the rate of combustion at the burning surface, in the currents of the air rising from the heat, in the position of the burning material as the wood is slowly consumed and the embers below shift. Each flicker changes the position of the light source. The shadows on the wall change with it. A shadow that was sharp becomes briefly soft. A shadow's edge moves by a small amount. A region of the wall that was in light is briefly in shadow. A region of the wall that was in shadow is briefly in light. The body did not move. The wood did not move. The wall did not move. Only the fire moved, and the wall's record of everything between it and the fire changed. This is the condition of the wall. what the wall holds at any moment is determined by the position of the fire at that moment. The shadows are not properties of the objects. They are properties of the geometry. The objects continue unchanged, while the shadows shift across the wall in the rhythm the fire's small movements produce. The shadow shifts. The object holds still. A second fire, if there were one, would produce different shadows. If a second fire were burning at another point in the chamber, every object would cast two shadows, one from each source, and the two shadows would overlap on the wall in regions where the geometries intersected. The wall would hold both records simultaneously. Each shadow would still be true as a record of its own light source. Neither would be more correct than the other. The wall would hold the sum of what arrived from both directions. There is only one fire in this chamber. The wall holds the record of what arrives from this one source. If the fire were elsewhere, the record would be elsewhere. If there were two fires, there would be two records. The wall's surface is available to receive whatever light the chamber's current arrangement allows it to receive. It does not require any particular arrangement. It receives what comes. The body seated near the fire turns slightly. The shadow on the wall reorganizes. The line of the shoulder shifts. The shape of the head against the firelight finds a new position. The wall holds the new shape, not because the wall changed, but because what the wall was receiving changed in its arrangement before arrival. The body, from inside, registers the turn as a small adjustment of posture. The wall, from its position, registers the turn as a new silhouette. Both records are accurate. Each is the record its receiver was positioned to make. The cave is quiet. The fire continues its small adjustments at its location in the chamber. The objects between the fire and the wall continue in their positions. The wall continues to receive the light that the chamber's arrangement allows. The shadows shift in the small ways the fire's flickering produces, and hold still in the longer rhythms between flickers. What the wall holds truly. It is the truth of one direction. It is the truth a surface receives when the surface, the source, and the intervening material are arranged as they are arranged now. It does not contain what the objects are from inside. It does not contain what the fire is beyond the light that left it and reached the wall. It does not contain what is behind the objects, on the side that faces away from the fire and away from the wall. The wall does not lack these things. The wall was never given them. What the wall received, it holds. What it did not receive is not absent. It is elsewhere. Breath enters, breath leaves. Between breaths, the air holds its density. The wall holds light. The body holds warmth. The wood holds weight. The fire holds combustion. None of them hold the thing the others receive. What is on the wall is true as the wall's record. The shape of the body's silhouette against the firelight is the shape the wall receives. The shape is real, present as a region of reduced illumination, present as a geometric consequence of the body's outline and the fire's position and the wall's distance. The shape is not a deception. It is what the wall is given to hold, from where the wall is. What is not on the wall is also true. the warmth on the body's skin facing the fire, the weight of the wood resting on the stone, the slow consumption of the burning material at the fire's base, the cooler air against the side of the body that faces the wall. These are not present on the wall. They are present elsewhere, in the body, in the wood, in the fire, in the air. The wall does not hold them. The wall could not hold them. These are not the wall's part. The fire continues. The wood near the fire holds its weight in the position it has held since it was placed there. The body near the fire holds its warmth on the side facing the flames and gives it to the air on the side facing the wall. The wall holds the shapes, the silhouettes the geometry currently produces, at the location each shape currently occupies on its surface. The shape on the wall has not lied. It is what the wall received from the direction the wall was facing. The body is still where the body is. The fire is still where the fire is. The shape will move when one of them moves. The shape was never the thing. It is the meeting of the thing and the surface that receives it. The archive remains.